All right, long time guest. It's been a while. Just Blaze joins the dime. Hot take to start the show. You know how it goes, man. What do you got?
Man, listen, man. I was struggling with a hot take. Actually, I wasn't struggling with a hot take. I usually got a few. You know me, usually the prophecy guy.
It's a prophecy. It's not a hot take. It's a prophecy. Predict the damn future.
It's a prophecy when I come in. But my hot take for this show, my brother, is the LA Clippers. Everyone's sexy, the media darlings, preseason pick to win it all. The Clippers are going to be a first-round exit this year.
Ooh, out in round one.
Round one, and let me tell you why.
Round one, okay.
Let me tell you what. Great team. I think on paper they look amazing. Amazing depth, talented wings, talented scorers, great coach, great depth, all of that. Great uniforms.
Right.
Come on, all of that going on. But I think they're missing the two H's that I call it, man. Health and hunger. I think when it comes down to it, when it gets to the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be healthy enough. I think they're taking this load management a little bit too far. And then number two, I don't think this team is hungry enough, brother. I think they're not hungry enough for a title because of the load management, because of the way that they're approaching the season. And also because of that hunger is going to drop them down in the standings and they're going to get an unfavorable playoff matchup. Hopefully it's not Luka, because he's sending them boys out of here.
Well, they got a taste of that last night. It's a prophecy, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to happen. Put your money on it, because it's going to happen. I mean, if you listen to past episodes of The Dime, if you're new, this is not his first time on the show. This is not the first hot take, and all his hot takes have come true. It's actually very weird. So all that and more next on The Dime.
You are now listening to The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, your weekly go-to podcast for all things NBA. And now, your host, Josh Rodriguez.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Dime, presented by the Ballislife Podcast Network. KD gets real about his situation in Brooklyn. Thibs is apparently approaching the hot seat. And like the beam, the Sacramento Kings are relevant again. My guest and I take on your favorite debate show personalities and take a stroll down NBA Twitter. But first, if you want to follow The Dime, you can on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It just used to be Twitter and Instagram. Now it's everything else at The Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. All episodes going forward will be on the Ball is Life Podcast Network YouTube channel. So if you're watching, welcome. If you're a loyal audio listener, please head over to YouTube, search Ball is Life Podcast Network. Then you will see my show, The Dime. We have other shows for you as well, so check those out. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, put on notifications so you're alerted when there's a new episode of The Dime. You are also a part of the show, so if you have a comment on the show, put it in the comment section. I will promote it. I will answer it on the next episode of The Dime, all that good stuff. But you know what time it is. It is time for me to introduce my guest. He is the host of the Above the Rim podcast, one of my favorite hoop shows to listen to and now watch on YouTube. I highly, highly, highly recommend you going to check out his show. It is honestly one of the best basketball podcasts out right now, and it's been that for the past 4 or 5 years since I've gotten into this business. Everybody, please welcome back to The Dime, Just Blaze. What's good, baby?
You know it's a long time coming, my man. Every time we get on the mic together, it's electric. Every time we on the mic, brother. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate the invite as always. I appreciate the kind words too, my brother. Appreciate
it. Facts, man. Listen, I always tell people when I first started The Dime, you know, it was a different show, and I was just kind of getting used to it. And your show was a big reason why I shifted over to the segments that I wanted to do and the ideas that I had, and you know, because you had that yourself. You know, our shows are different, but you laid the footprint and the groundwork there. And I just can't thank you enough. And honestly, man, I like your show, and you're a smart basketball mind, and we agree a lot of times, and sometimes we don't, but when we don't, it's great conversation. So I love it, man.
For sure. And, you know, iron sharpens iron, as they say. So, you know, I appreciate you, brother. And, you know, you have a great show as well. You know, we always electric when we on the mic together. So I appreciate it as always, man. So let's go. Let's get this rocking.
Let's do it, man. We're going to get to it. It's the first Dime versus Prime Time of the season. Let's do it.
The Dime versus Prime Time. The debate is over when Josh says it's over.
I play a clip from one of the shows. The first things first. The Undisputed. All those shows, and my guest and I will comment on them. You ready to do this, man?
Let's do it, man. I'm ready.
All right. First, we got Charles Barkley talking about Ja Morant after last night's game against the Pelicans.
Next evolution for Ja is he got to learn to make the players around him better. Now, when you're a great player, you can get your shot anytime you want to. But to take that next step,
You don't think he makes them better?
I'm saying the players around him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I don't think he's added that to his game yet. Sometimes when you make a play, you got to be thinking to yourself, I can go around this guy, but I need to get this guy going. I need to get this guy going.
All right, so Charles Barkley basically saying that Ja Morant. It sounds like, now I grew up playing a point guard, and just were you a point guard growing up?
Yes, you know it.
Yeah, so I feel like you and I have very similar views on the game. It sounds like he says that he doesn't think like a point. Like when I hear Chuck talk like that, to me it's like, oh, he doesn't think like a point guard. Do you think that's a valid criticism of John? Do you think that Chuck has a point here?
I get what he's trying to say, but I disagree because I think he's being a little too harsh on Ja already. I think he's comparing him to a mold of a Chris Paul. You know what I'm saying? Rather being the ultimate leader. But that to me is another step rather than making your teammates better, as he says. To me, leadership is a different category than making your teammates better. Now, does Ja make his teammates better? Absolutely. Desmond Bane has gotten better. Dylan Brooks has gotten better. Triple J has gotten better. Steven Adams is more comfortable now in his role after he's already been playing well. So listen, Aldama is playing well. Tyus Jones is playing well. Listen, everyone over there plays off of Ja Morant and the gravity that Ja Morant does play with. So does he make his teammates better? Absolutely. Everyone on that team has gotten better, and they have gotten better as a unit. I think he's referring to leadership, and can he get better in terms of leadership? Yes, but I think it's just because he's young and he's growing into that leadership role. I think he's an excellent leader right now because he embraces it, but does he have room to grow? Of course. A lot of players do. So I disagree with Chuck, me personally, and he makes his teammates better.
Yeah, I agree. I disagree with Chuck here too. I mean, the only way, like I think sometimes players in the 90s think that the only way to make your teammates better is like to set them up with the assist or like create something out of nothing. That's not necessarily true. Like you can exist on the court and make your teammates better. That's the whole argument for Steph, right? His gravity makes everybody else better. Even when he doesn't have the basketball, the defense spreads out. And that's the same thing with Ja. He doesn't have the gravity that Steph has, but he has the attention that the defense has to give him attention. And Ja's not a ball hog. It's not like Ja just hogs the ball and does whatever he wants with the basketball. And then on top of that, to your point, I think Ja's a fantastic leader. He's very young. Of course, he has room to grow, but his team responds to him. The Grizzlies have a personality that's shaped around his personality, so they latched onto him. And the players that you name, like Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, they weren't touted out of college. Like these weren't supposed to be, rotational pieces out of college. And I think a big reason why, yes, it is their skill and they deserve credit as well. But I do think it's Ja Morant and what he brings to the table and helping out on the offense as well. So I think it's a little short-sighted by Chuck. I get where he's going with that. I think, you have point guards who they get the ball and the first thing they think is, how can I score the basketball? And sometimes I think Ja has that in him. I think Chuck is looking for Ja to like, how can we score? How can I get us in the best position as a team to score the basketball? And I think that's where Chuck was going with it. But I don't think you should take it to the point where you say, oh, well, he doesn't make anybody better, because that's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and really quick, last point to piggyback off your point, I agree. And I think the one way you can easily trump Chuck by saying he's wrong is that the one thing that Ja Morant does give the rest of his teammates and the way he does make his teammates better is with confidence. Ja's confidence is what injects in the rest of that team. Ja's confidence is what gives it to Bane, gives it to Triple J. And the swag that the Grizzlies got. So a lot of that comes from Ja's personality and his electric play. So the confidence that Ja gives the rest of the Grizzlies is 100% why he does make his teammates better. That confidence can take you a long way. You know that.
Oh, absolutely. Let's move on to clip number 2. It's Kendrick Perkins talking about Luka Doncic.
Hardest player to guard in the league right now.
He is. And I keep comparing him to LeBron James, right? A younger LeBron James minus the athleticism, and to all the points that Danny said. I mean, he's just a big guard at that point forward position. He's so crafty. He's a hooper, and he has that dog in him. He embraces that type of atmosphere when he's on the road. That challenge when a team like the Clippers come into his house and he takes that game personal. That's what you love out of him. And by the way, he's skinny. This is the skinny version of Luka. And when you have this Luka that is in shape, that's ready, that's prepared, that's been hooping all summer long, coming into the season with razor sharp focus, he is the most unguardable person.
Now, I wouldn't go far as saying Luka's skinny. Not to body shame him, but I'm not going that far, Perk. It is what it is. Now, do you think Luka is the most unguardable player in the league?
The most unguardable, I disagree with. I think you can go name a lot of players who are technically unguardable. I think there are a lot of players in the league that can't be guarded by one individual defender. A lot of these superstars, you can name them: Tatum, Morant, Steph, who else? Devin Booker, KD, LeBron, even Giannis, Jokic. A lot of those players can't be guarded with one player. So a lot of stars are technically unguardable. Now, Luka's a jump shooter, so it's a make or miss league. If he's hitting those jump shots, yes, he's unguardable. If he's missing them, then he may be a little bit, guardable, you know, as he says. But he on to something. He might be on some Luka light, maybe light Luka. He's talking about skinny Luka. I don't know about that part. Light Luka, maybe. I don't think he is. I'm gonna say no. Actually, I don't think Luka is the most unguardable player in the league. Now, to your point, there are players who've like, if you leave him on an island, they're gonna kill you. There's like 15 to 20 players like that. So if you want to look at it that lens, then yes, I mean he's unguardable, and so are like 15 other people. To me, and I know it's cliche and whatnot, but I'm still gonna say it's Steph for the simple fact that it's hard to stop him when he has the ball. You got to chase him around the whole damn half court. He could shoot from anywhere. He's a threat once he crosses half court. To me, like, how do you guard that? I mean, with Giannis, you can form a wall, right? Or you can have him shoot a jump shot. Luka's an awful three-point shooter this year. For as great of a season he's having this year, he's not hitting the three ball. Tatum, to me, is very underrated in this aspect because he's a three-level scorer. He's good from anywhere. My problem with Tatum is that he settles from time to time, but still, like, he might be next for me. He's up there for me. But to me, it's Steph. Because I I've been on that Tatum wave for a while.
Bro, you called Tatum, and I remember last year during the finals run.
3 years ago. Come on.
Because you, for the record, just had Tatum as MVP last year or year early, and I told you that, man.
2 years ago.
You 2 years ago too? Yeah, you were 2 years. Yeah, I had Donovan Mitchell last year, so I might have been a year early too.
Yes, you did.
But you've been on Tatum forever, man, and you're right about him, man. I mean, he's definitely top 10 player in the league.
Absolutely.
You could argue.
The truth. He's a truth.
Yeah, top 7, top 6, maybe. I mean, depending on your list there. But to me, I think the most unguardable player in the league is still Steph Curry. That's my pick.
That's fair. I like that. I think I can agree with you there. I can't dispute that at all. I would say Steph and Giannis to me, 1 and 1A is the most game plan for player, if that even makes sense. Like you have to really alter your game plan the most for those two players, Steph and Giannis, to me the most. So absolutely, you're 100% right on the money, brother. But also, like I said, Tatum is the truth.
Tatum is the truth, man. He is the truth.
Josh, really quick, I'm mad the streets are on him right now. You had
it. I know, man. It's like rap. It's like those underground rappers that no one knows about, and then all of a sudden they have a hit on the radio, and then everybody's on them, and it's like, damn, I was on them before that, yo.
You know what that is? The prophecy.
It's a prophecy.
You might have to call this the prophecy.
We might have to. I think that's the name of the episode. All right, last clip. It's Skip Bayless. He's talking about Ben Simmons, and he doesn't believe that he can be useful again. Surprise, surprise from Skip.
That guy who made those all-star teams, he is gone, and I'm afraid he's gone for good because I can't recognize an inch or ounce of him. To your point, I don't even know who this is anymore.
But would you say that can he be serviceable? If you don't believe he can ever be an all-star again or an all-NBA defensive player, is he serviceable?
No.
Damn. All right, so he's basically saying that he's not serviceable at all. Now, I've been a big Ben Simmons fan. I don't. Did you know that? I think I picked when you were picking Jason Tatum with MVP. I was picking Ben Simmons 2 years ago. So
Ben Simmons guy.
So if you're gonna put your money on someone's predictions, that's how you know who to choose in this situation. I think it's a little unfair to say he's not serviceable. Now, do I think that he's struggling to come back from injury and, some mental health issues? Absolutely. Do I think he's playing well right now? Absolutely not. But Ben, I believe in you, man. I can't leave Ben now. I was on it from the beginning. He's a former all-star. He's an all-defensive player. My thinking is at least you can play some defense, right? I mean, the defense doesn't really leave you. That's, a lot of that's effort and knowing rotations and how to move. So you could at least have that. Listen, I have a lot of faith that Ben can come back and at least be serviceable. The fact that you can say that someone that talented with his athleticism and his wingspan and his physical attributes can't be serviceable, that's a little bit of an insult. I don't think he's trash. I don't think he's someone who's not supposed to be in the league. He's absolutely a rotational piece, and he can be a piece for a very successful team. Now, is he going to be an all-star? No. But to take it as far as saying that he's not serviceable anymore, that's too far for me. And I'm rooting for Ben, man. I understand that a lot of people like to pick on him, especially NBA Twitter. No one takes him seriously anymore, but I do, and I'm rooting for him. I hope he does well.
Kind words, my brother Josh. Kind words. I love the optimism from you, but I'm gonna agree and disagree because I agree with you. I agree with you that Skip, man, he's dragging it a little bit. Come on, he's being a little harsh. Talking about he's not serviceable. Come on, Skip, he can't even hoop. So I don't know. I don't know what he's even talking about.
Right.
Number 2, he has a slight point. Now listen, I can't backtrack because I'm one of the dudes. If you listen to my show, I'm harsh on Ben Simmons, man, because I'm close and personal live here watching.
Well,
Ben
he does.
Simmons.
And to sorry to cut you off. To be fair, he hasn't played well. So like the criticism from the basketball standpoint is absolutely valid. Sorry.
Yeah, no, perfect. Well said. He hasn't played well, and because of that, because Ben Simmons hasn't played well, I'm lowering my expectations for the guy. Okay, listen, he's a maximum player. He's not a maximum star. He's not an all-star. Ben Simmons' ceiling to me right now is Lamar Odom.
That's a good. I'll take that ceiling though.
But people had him pegged as a Hall of Famer, perennial all-star. To me, Ben Simmons' new expectation, his new ceiling is Lamar Odom. Maybe a guy off the bench, if not starting, depending on the team. A guy off the bench, a 6-man who can play multiple positions, who can do multiple things on the floor, but you're not going to expect him or you're not going to rely on him to win a title as one of your guys. He's an extra luxury piece off the bench. But that's a problem because he's not making luxury off the bench piece money.
Right.
And that's the deal right there. So Ben Simmons, my guy needs to get it together. He can't be being outscored by Yuta Watanabe. I said it on my show. He can't be getting outscored by this guy. Ben Simmons, pick it up, brother. Pick it up.
He had 11. He had 11 last game. First time in double figures all year, baby. Let's go, Ben.
Oh my God, run the parade.
Upward, Ben. Let's go.
Come on. We in the stock. Ring the bell in the stock market, man.
Oh man. All right, so that's gonna do it for Dime versus Prime Time, but we're gonna stick with the Nets here. And KD, I'm sure you saw the quotes. I'll read them. I'm saying he's throwing the roster under the bus, as you can see in the graphic below. I wrote that out. But we'll get to it because it might be warranted. Sometimes getting thrown under the bus, it happens. He said, quote, "Look at our starting lineup. Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Claxton, and me. It's not disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group? You expect us to win because I'm out there." Just, to me, it sounds like it's harsh, but it's true. He's not lying. So how do you take these comments from KD? Do you think he should have said it? And do you think it's a little unnecessary?
Listen, I'm not mad at it, to be honest with you. I'm not mad at it. He had to. I feel like he wanted to get his truth out, and he had to get his truth out. And I feel like this has been bubbling inside him, especially since the suspension, really. Yeah. Since Kyrie's been suspended, and he realizes that he has to take on a larger role now. This is basically exactly what he didn't want coming into the season, which is why he requested that trade. So, does he have a point? I think he could have used better words, but does he have a point? Yes, because we just talked about Ben Simmons. He's getting five points a night. That's not enough for what I traded James Harden for. Giving 5 points is not enough. The second, I believe, KD's averaging 30, Kyrie's averaging 26, and then the next leading scorer is Claxton at like 10 or 11.
And he's not even a scorer like that. It's just off offensive rebounds and putbacks and shit like that.
Those are spoon-fed points that Claxton is getting. So to me, I understand what he's trying to say. Could he have used better words? Yes, but he's just trying to light a fire under this team. And basically, he's telling management, listen, I'm not playing with y'all. I will ask for that trade again. Don't play with me is basically what he's saying. Don't play with me is what he's saying.
Listen, I feel KD. I feel for him because – his career is so weird to me, right? Like you were a darling in OKC, then you become a villain in Golden State, and then everyone's like, well, you got to do it on your own. So he chooses a franchise in Brooklyn to do it on his own. Let's be honest. Like, let's be fair to him. He's like, okay, I got to do it on my own. Yeah. I choose Brooklyn. And then all this stuff has kind of happened behind the scenes with that team, whether it's him, Kyrie, Harden, whatever the reasons are. It's just a lot of drama surrounding Brooklyn. And now I don't want to say he's stuck with this roster, but he kind of is stuck with this roster. He's stuck with a roster that can't contend, and everybody knows it. And he knows that that's just going to be thrown back on him. Like, oh, you see, KD can't win. He went away. He has his own team and he can't win because he's not X, Y, Z. And KD, he's someone where it's really obvious that his legacy means a lot to him. Like a lot to him. Yeah. And to me, I think that's the most important thing to him. I know he wants to win another championship. I'm not saying that winning's not important to him, but at the end of the day, he wants to be looked at as like a top 5 player ever to play this game. Yeah, and absolutely. I don't think, I kind of understand that. I think a lot of his comments are seen through that lens where it's just like, damn, like people don't appreciate me for who I am. So I get it, but I don't know if he should have said it the way that he said it in the media like that. Because now, like, if I'm Joe Harris, if I'm Claxton, I'm taking the floor with him. I'm like, yo, what? Come on, dude. Like, I don't want to play you no more.
I was thinking you were gonna say that, but would you really feel like that?
Yeah, I would. Come on, Just. You wouldn't feel that way if you had a teammate. He's like, I'm playing with Just. Like, how you expect me to win? Come on, man.
No,
like, these are athletes with egos who have been the best at what they do their whole lives. Come on.
I agree. At first, I would be like, damn, he really outed me. He really hotting up the spot. You know, I would say that. But then again, me being me, I would be like, damn, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I could play better, or maybe I'm not playing good enough. You don't think Joe Harris could play better?
I think they all can play better. I'm not saying that, but he's basically saying, like, based off of their name, like, come on, it's Joe Harris.
But Josh, is he wrong though?
He's not wrong. He's not. Listen, again, he's not wrong, but just because he's not wrong, don't mean that the words don't hurt.
True. I agree. The brothers got feelings.
Come on, man. Like, you can't be saying that, man.
Come on, the fellas got feelings. I agree. But they got to be like, yo, man, we got to step up. Joe Harris, you got to be giving more, man. Listen, Joe Harris, you're relied upon. Ben Simmons, I'm not even going to discuss him. You got to be giving more. Who else? Royce O'Neal?
Everybody
got to do better, man. So, I think it should strike a fire under them. And maybe they need a players-only meeting again.
maybe. I mean, they were playing well up until the past 2 games. I mean, got smacked by Sacramento last night, so that's not a good look. And then that loss to the Lakers was pretty bad. Granted, it was on a back-to-back. Now, I want to follow up this question. Like, do you think that they should move on from KD? Do you think that they should be looking to trade him? You know, if you're Joe Tsai, if you're Sean Marks, like, you've done the whole thing with Kyrie and Harden and now KD, and then, you know, every year it's something. Like, you just give up on this and ship him to somewhere, like maybe Phoenix?
Listen, now, you know that's a 2-part answer for me because I'm in both of these locations, the Nets and the Suns. So
that's right.
Listen, do I want them to trade KD? Absolutely not, because then Brooklyn's going to be devoid of a star. And I think KD actually does fit here. It's just the pieces around him. It's just been a lot of BS, you know, off the court stuff that wasn't basketball related, injuries, whatever the case may be. But the other side of me is he going to help my boy win a title out there at Phoenix? Ship him off.
Yeah, man. If they get him, man, I mean.
Yeah. Think about this deal right here. Would you say yes to this deal? KD and Nicholas Claxton for DeAndre Ayton, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet, 2 or 3 first-round picks, a 2023, 2025 first-round pick. The money matches. Would you say yes?
How do you say no to that? How do you say no to that?
Oh, you said, how do you say no? Oh,
yeah. How do you say no to that? That's like you're rebuilding right there, right off the spot. And then you have Kyrie, who you can, I don't know if Kyrie's worth a lot, but I mean, you can still. Yeah, you can still maybe flip him depending if he comes back, because everyone has short memories, right? So if Kyrie comes back, you know, there's no drama from here on the rest of the season. He's averaging 25 and 6 or something like that. You can flip Kyrie as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and that was what I'm saying. Like you can do that for KD, you know, and the Suns have the pieces for sure. For sure.
Man. The Nets be a stingy, man. So listen, I'm not mad at the Nets be a stingy because you are trading KD, but my boy CP needs some help, man. Give my boy some help, man.
All right, so let's cross the bridge. Let's go to New York. I'm all decked out in Knicks gear. I don't know why I took it back to high school. I don't know what this is. I haven't worn a jersey in years, bro. I love it. Allen Houston, baby. Allen Houston. So
listen, I was gonna say something, but I know one of your favorite players is Allen Houston, right? I remember you told me that before.
Houston and Starks.
John Starks too. You always talk about John Starks. Yeah, you a point guard. I thought you was a point guard, man.
I am a point, but what point guard the Knicks had that I could root for? Come on. What am I? Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward cannot finish at the rim, make nobody better. And I liked Chris Childs better than Charlie Ward for what it's worth during those years.
Oh, the boy Felton. The boy Felton.
Come on, now Felton. Give me a break, bro. Come on. What point guard I had to root for? The year I started watching the Knicks was the year Mark Jackson got traded. So it was I've never seen a good Knick point guard ever in my life. Like
Marbury had a couple years.
Marbury was nice. I take that back. Marbury.
Billups, older Billups, an older kid. You know. Maybe, Tony Douglas. Tony Douglas.
Come on, man. Why are you doing that? Tony Douglas, please. Chris Duhon.
Chris Duhon. Alfred Payton. Come on, man.
Stop it.
The hierarchy.
So the Knicks right now are 7-7. They play in Denver in about 20 minutes or so. That's when we're recording the show. So I don't know if they'll be 7-8 or 8-7. Back-to-back, no Jokic, no Bones Highland. If they lose this game, it's a shame. I'll just leave it. I know it's a back-to-back, but you got to win this. You got to win this game. There have been reports by Ian Begley of SNY saying that Thibs, after the loss to OKC when they gave up 257 points, is now on the hot seat, or his seat is getting warm. How do you feel about this? I mean, because you live in New York, you're not a Knicks fan, but like you're objective, and if they're on, I feel like you do watch them.
Of course,
From
day.
like from like an outsider who's an insider kind of. Like, what is your perspective on Thibs?
Yeah, well, my perspective on Thibs is that Thibs is the right coach for a certain type of player. And I think every team doesn't have that certain type of player on their team. Now, they may have some of those players when he arrives at that location, which is why they bring Thibs in. But then, as you know, players evolve, ears evolve, and people sometimes can tune a coach out if his message doesn't result to success. Now, the first year, obviously, we know it resulted to some semi-success. They had their playoff berth that they had in a few years. You know, it was a nice little, a little Cinderella dream run.
Oh, man.
That the boys had.
Got excited for no reason, man. 4 seed.
I know, but it gave Thibs a leash, and let them know, like, all right, my message can work with the right type of players if everybody buys in. But now I think it's getting a little bit stale. But then I also think, I guess we're going to go into it a little bit more, but I also think you have to give him the right pieces to make sure his message gets across and for the style that he wants to produce. Because it's not a bad thing to change coach, change voices, change philosophy. So to me, from the outside looking in, Thibs is still a good coach. But if you're going the youth movement and you have a lot of young players, he may not be the best coach for those guys because his voice can get a little stale because he's a drill sergeant.
Yeah, he's a drill sergeant, and it doesn't seem like the team's connecting with him. I don't think they dislike him, but there's no, like, I don't look at the Knicks and be like, that's a well-coached team. Well-coached teams, when you watch them play, like Phoenix, when you watch Golden State play, like there is like an organization to their offense and their defensive rotations where it's just like automatic. It's like they're robots. It's like everything is in sync. The Knicks are a mess. Everything is like scrambled and random, and there just seems to be no game plan on either side except for on defense where they want to protect the rim, and now an increasingly, better shooting league. Everyone's shooting the 3-ball out of their minds, and Thibs wants everybody to pack the paint, and that's why they're getting killed on 3-ball. But there's nothing there where it's just like where he makes sense for the team anymore. And I'm with you. I think Thibs is a good coach, and I think he did something that I think is a little underappreciated by Knicks fans, where he brought some culture and some respectability back to the franchise. You can say whatever you want about the Knicks. You may think they might not make the play-in game, but they're not a joke anymore. This team is not a punchline anymore. They're not a laughing stock of the league. Yeah, they might be 500. They might underachieve a little bit, but going into the Garden, you're going to have to bring your A game where you're going to catch an L. When the Knicks come in, they're going to play hard. And that's the one thing about Thibs I'll always give him credit for. They play hard. They might be like a chicken with their head cut off running around like without any strategy or whatnot, but they play hard, and and you catch them on the wrong night, they'll beat you. But I do think it's time for a new coach. For me, a lot of the Knicks fans, they want Johnny Bryant, who's on the staff as well. For me, I don't really like. I know Udoka worked out. I know sometimes these coaches work out, but I don't know anything about his X's and O's. I just know that he might have nice relationships with the team, which works. But for me, like, I know how Kenny Atkinson coaches. So that's who I'm kind of advocating for if Thibs is to get replaced. Is there anyone out there who you think, off the top of your head, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but you would want to replace Thibs, or who you think would make a good fit for this roster?
I have to think about it, what coach actually is available that I think would be a great person for it, because I actually think an assistant coach, like a former player type of assistant coach, would be the best thing for the Knicks. Like a Chauncey Billups, how he went over there to the Portland Trailblazers, that type of coach, I think would be best. But I think with Thibs also, and why I see what you're saying about that before they were playing hard and everything like that. I think, me personally, with the Knicks, I think they just lost their identity.
Yes.
Before 2 years ago, when they had that playoff run, they had a defensive identity. Their identity under Thibs was they're going to play hard. And, they lost basically that entire identity. Now they switched on to more of a offensive game plan because they realized during that playoff series that their offense was lacking and they were too much defense. But the problem is they totally 180 shifted over to now trying to be an offensive team, but they don't have the offensive firepower to be an offensive team.
Yeah, it's like you're a UFC fighter and you want to be a boxer all of a sudden, And now you're throwing hands at someone who's a boxer and they're knocking you out every time. That's what happened to OKC. You try to run with OKC, they're going to kill you because that's what they do.
And that's like trying to move up to a heavyweight class and you're not a heavyweight yet. You didn't put those extra LBs on yet. You didn't put those on. So the Knicks, you can't maneuver over to an offensive team without having pristine offensive weapons. So to me, they either need to choose if they're going to be an offensive team or a defensive powerhouse, or be good enough to be both. And they're none of those three. So I think also with Knicks fans also as well. I know probably not a lot of Knicks fans listen to this show, listen to my show as well.
Yeah.
I think the Knicks fans' expectations are also the problem with the Knicks fan base. And we know. Knicks Twitter. I know you on Knicks Twitter. Yeah. I talk to a few of them, but I'm not deep in there like you because I let people know the real. So the problem is right now, and I'm gonna say it on your show, that the expectations are too high for the Knicks. And now you said right here, the Knicks started the season 7-7. That's an average record. The Knicks are an average team.
That's what we expected, and everyone's mad at them for doing what we expected. It's like,
bro,
this is what you thought was going to happen.
You're a 500 caliber team. This is a 500 record. Be happy with that.
Exactly.
This is not an upper echelon of the East team. So I think where they at is exactly where they need to be and exactly what their talent shows you it is.
And exactly what Knicks fans predicted, and now they're getting mad that they are where they predicted. You asked any Knicks fan before the season starts, what's their record? Anyone would have said anywhere from like 37 to 44 wins, which is basically 500 basketball, give or take a couple games. Now the Knicks are playing 500 basketball, give or take a couple of games, and Knicks fans just can't freaking take it. This is exactly what we thought they'd be. This is exactly what we thought they'd be.
100%. That's exactly what I thought they would be. I'm saying it because I read Twitter too. I read all of these wild tweets from a lot of the Knicks fans. Sometimes I want to heat some of them up, but then I'm like, I don't want to get into an argument. I'm not even a Knicks fan, so I'm not even gonna do that. I just got to tell y'all the real. But the over expectation. Like, listen, Jalen Brunson was a great pickup. He's doing what he's been asked to do. Yeah. Do I think he's shooting a little bit too much? Me personally, I think he could tone back the shots a little bit, be more of a little primary playmaker because it's allowing Julius Randle to dribble the ball more. And because he's dribbling the ball more, that means there's too much use of him. We're going to have to dial him back a little bit. Now, the real issue is that RJ isn't playing up to expectations this season. He was shooting 42% from the floor, like 30% from three. It's not going to cut it. And to me, like I said on my show that's about to come out, RJ has to be the leading scorer on the team. If Julius Randle is still the leading scorer on the team, the Knicks are not where they need to be. RJ Barrett needs to. I told him he needs to be. I told him. I told the streets.
I talked to him personally.
I told the streets. I told the streets he needs to give RJ Barrett the keys. I've been saying it for 2 years now. Now it looks like they're trying to give him the keys, but he doesn't want to take it right now. So he needs to get better. And Jalen Brunson also, actually, I don't have any gripes about Jalen Brunson. I also wanted to ask you about Grimes because I don't know the Knicks fans' obsession with Grimes. There's an obsession. There's a cult of Grimes. And
there's a Grimes cult. There's a Cam hive. There's an RJ hive. And they all fight with each other.
But why Grimes? He's talented.
I like Grimes. So I'm not obsessed with Grimes. I mean, I'm not obsessed to the point where it's like, don't give him up for Donovan Mitchell. No, let's get Donovan. But I think it's the fact that he brings something to the team that other players possibly can't, right? He's a spot up 3-point shooter where where every time Grimes shoots the ball from three, I'm like, that's going in. Just confidence. And I don't think there's another player on the team where they shoot from three, where I have the utmost confidence going in. So he does that. He's a very good defender on top of that. And I think he has that role. He can have that role of the 3-and-D wing player that we see so much in this league that the Knicks honestly don't really have, that we're trying to kind of turn Cam Reddish into a little bit. And he succeeds some nights and sometimes he doesn't. And I think Knicks just see him as like, okay, that's an automatic 3D starter right there. And that's a piece that we can check off right quick. That's how I look at it.
Is he a starter?
I think he'd be a starter, yeah. I don't think he's an
all-star. Starter at what, the 1 or the 2?
Oh, the 2.
Starting at the 2. Okay, so starting there with Jalen Brunson. You think he's good enough to be right here, starting caliber playing the NBA at the 2?
I mean, right now.
What is he, about 6'3"? How tall is
he? He is 6. I don't know.
In the low 6s, I feel like. In the low 6s. A shorter 2 guard is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, but he's also 6'4". He's a good defender.
Oh, he's 6'4". Okay.
He's a good defender. You know, he's a decent playmaker off the basketball because he played point guard. in high school.
He's a
and in
very
college.
energetic player also as well. He
I like him a lot, man. I think he's
Okay.
for instance, and especially for the roster that the Knicks have right now, it's not like the Knicks are overly talented.
So the roster the Knicks have.
Yeah. And I think you can make a case for Quickly starting. But Brunson and Quickly are kind of small. I don't believe in that whole small backcourt nonsense. I mean, look at Mitchell and Garland; they're killing it. So it just depends on your team. But I like Grimes, man. I like him a lot. The problem with the Knicks is they have a bunch of players who are like B- is the B+. That's the problem, and he fits in.
They have a. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's the problem. He fits in that category. He's not an A. He's not an A+. He's B- maybe.
And also the Knicks problem, they have a log jam of too many players at the same position. 3 centers, 4 power forwards. Come on, it's too much. Find some minutes. They need to figure out Sims, Hartenstein, and Mitchell Robinson.
And I like Hartenstein and Sims, but like, why'd you sign Mitch Hartenstein and Jericho Sims in the same offseason?
Yeah, I don't know. And I like Sims. Sims good.
I like all of them. I like all 3 players I just named, but it's like now, like, I know Thibs likes protecting the hoop, but now you have 3 centers. Now you don't want to go small with Obi. I mean, I think Obi should be getting some minutes, and you don't want to take minutes away from Julius. So if you're not taking minutes from Julius, you got to take away from the 5. But now you don't want to take minutes from the 5 because you just signed Mitch, Hartenstein, and Sims to contracts, and it's like, I don't know, man. I think Leon Rose deserves a little bit of criticism for the way he built the roster. But I also think a lot of it has to do with the way Thibs wants to play basketball, and that's protect the rim. And, I think Obi should be getting more minutes. And I think they should be going small. When him and Julius are on the court together, I think it's fine. I always tell people, everyone always wants to choose between Julius and Obi. It's not Julius and Obi. It's not Julius or Obi. It's Julius and Obi. I think they should be playing together. I
like that. And the minutes that they just played the other night against the Utah Jazz, when they played good minutes with Obi and Randall, whichever one was playing at the 5, pretty much, they played excellent. So I like those minutes. And I agree with you. Leon Rose created the confusion. He put too many pieces that are too similar, and now Thibs has to figure out what's going on. But if they're gonna replace him, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I feel like they should do it at the end of the season instead of mid-season. But definitely for the Knicks, it should be a player coach for the Knicks, a fairly young player coach.
I would like that. All right, man. Let's close out the show. Let's take a stroll down NBA Twitter.
Did you just? I can't believe. Yes, you really tweeted that out. NBA Twitter, you are undefeated.
All right, it's time to take a stroll down the hellhole of an app I like to call Twitter. Well, I don't like to call Twitter. It is called Twitter. Who knows what it's going to be called in a couple months if Elon has his way. This is where I take tweets that I see on my timeline, and me and Josh are going to discuss them here for you. Josh, you ready to do it?
Let's do it.
All right, first tweet comes from Greg at GWIS, and he says, the beam is the best gimmick the Kings have ever done. It's silly and fun and harmless, and everyone loves it. Hashtag beam team. For you, those of you who don't know, the Sacramento Kings, after a victory, a purple beam goes from above the arena there in Sacramento, and it stays up for the whole night. The Kings have won 7 of 9 after starting the season 0-4. They're one of the more exciting teams to watch lately. I love watching the Kings this year. It's a pleasant surprise. So I just want to ask you, I know the question's not on the tweet, but I do want to ask you, do you think they're a playing team, a playoff team? What are your thoughts on the Kings?
I like the Kings. I like the roster that they put together. I like how they're playing, and I like who's over there? Mike Brown, right? I like Mike Brown and instilling a good philosophy in those boys. And this is De'Aaron Fox's year to blossom. So I think they will be a team that's fighting for the play-in. Do I think they're going to get in the playoffs? No, but I think they're going to be fighting for the play-in. So I think they're going to be 8, 9, or 10 to end the season, and I think it's going to be one of those sudden death battles with one of those teams at the bottom of the 10. It may even be the Clippers.
Kings versus Clippers, the way that the Wolves and Clippers were last year. Very similar. Where they're jumping on tables after winning. You're going to see De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, I like the Kings too, man. They're a lot of fun to watch. They're a lot of fun to watch, and they brought into Mike Brown. They're playing better defense. And De'Aaron Fox continues to be one of the more underrated players in the league that a lot of people don't talk about. There was an argument, Lonzo versus De'Aaron Fox out of college, and I think it's safe to say now that De'Aaron pretty much won that argument. And I was a big Lonzo guy, and I think Lonzo could have been a very solid player in this league, and he was when he was healthy. He just can't stay healthy. And then, give I don't know, the GM's name is escaping me, but give him credit. They traded Halliburton last year and everyone thought, like, what the hell are you doing? And Sabonis has been big time for them. Sabonis is another underrated player who I think, deserves a lot of credit. So they're flying on the radar there. And, it's fun to watch. I always like when these small town teams or small cities make some noise. So shout out to them.
Absolutely. They need a highly skilled vet that can still hoop on their roster, right in that mid-tier Harrison Burroughs, get him up out of there, get a nice vet to put there, and I think they're a playoff team, 100%.
Good call. All right, so next we got Nicole at Christians, and Nicole says, SGA, most underrated player in the league, and it's not even close, Just. I don't know if you saw this. Now, I have 3 screens here so I can watch like different things at different times. While we're recording, SGA hit a game-winning three-pointer against the Washington Wizards.
Talk about it.
With 1 second left on the clock. So this is perfect timing. This is perfect timing. Now, I can tell you like him a lot. What do you think of this tweet?
Listen. I said Tatum was the truth. SGA is the truth also. Listen, I got my episode that's about to come out. I got a whole segment on my board, man. Is he the most underrated NBA? Absolutely. And you know why he's one of my favorite players? Because he was brought up under the tutelage of my man CP3. Under the
That's true, right? He learned a lot. That 1 year in OKC, baby.
The tutelage of my boy CP3. So is SGA the most underrated? Absolutely. Bet your bottom dollar, man. Averaging over 30 and 5 this year. Talk about it, man. This boy needs to be an all-star this year. He's all-star caliber. We need to get him to a contender. And I will go as far as this to say, if SGA gets traded, that will shift the balance of power. In whatever conference that is that he gets traded to. So if he heads over to the East, that East team that gets him is going to be a contender 100% absolutely. Even if it's somebody like the Heat, who I propose, I think will be the best team to try to trade for SGA. They could give up Hero, Lowry, and a pick or something like that. You know, if the Knicks were to even try to get at him, there's a lot of teams that could even try. So SGA, wherever he goes, I think is going to change the balance of power if they do decide to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I don't think they are going to trade him. I think Presti would be an absolute idiot to trade SGA. Like, what?
Does he fit?
You make it fit. You know what I mean? I mean, him and Giddey.
With Chet coming, I mean,
yeah, they're. I mean, you have Giddey, who's a tall guard. Chet is long. I mean, they have Lou Dort. Like, to me, they fit. Yeah, they fit, man. They beat the Wizards tonight. I think they're 500 right now, so they're a little ahead of a schedule right now. You know, if it wasn't for Presti wanting to tank this whole time, I mean, they probably could do a little better, you know, for the past couple of years. Yeah. So to me, like, it doesn't make sense to me where people think. Now, I'm not saying you think this, but I know Nick's Twitter thinks this. We're like, oh, let's just go get SGA. Let's just go get him. Well, what do you mean? Let's just go get him?
It's not going to be easy.
No, I mean, he's the top 5 point guard in the league. Easy. You know, he's one of the most underrated players. You don't think Sam Presti knows what he has? What do you think that's going to cost you? And what makes you think he doesn't want to hold on to him, especially when he's building for the future? People think that Sam Presti is just GMing just to get draft picks. Like, that's his goal. We're all trying to win a championship, and Sam Presti just wants to hoard draft picks. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to win at all. No, he's trying to win too, and he has one of the best point guards in the league right here. Why is he going to give him away? For what? Absolutely. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Now, I could be proven wrong because I know that his name was on the table before. They wanted to trade SGA to the Pistons to get the number 1 pick for Cade Cunningham because they like Cade a lot. But then he signed an extension. They locked him up. What are you gonna lock him up for? If you come on, stop.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going anywhere.
And I could see how OKC would even entertain that because Cade Cunningham, that is a comparable type of swap. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But whoever the Knicks are trading, like RJ, I'm sorry, that's not a comparable swap.
Come on,
yet.
Bro.
Not yet. So
sorry, Knicks fans.
Yeah, sorry, that's not it.
RJ and Obi, you're gonna have to. And
listen,
picks.
A little bit more. I need a little bit
and
more
picks.
than that.
And picks.
If I'm giving up SGA, so I think it's gonna take a colossal offer. Especially, he's definitely not making it easy for him now with how he's playing this year. The stock went up. The price went. Yesterday's price is not today's price for SGA.
Facts.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. So shout out to my man SGA, and I call him the best Euro step in the game, man. Best Euro step in the game. Talk to me.
All right, last tweet. We're gonna close out the show with this. It's from Tom Hicks at Uncle_Tom Uncle Hicks Uncle Score. He says James Wiseman looks to be a huge bust and one of the worst lottery picks since Anthony Bennett and Darko Milicic. Oh my goodness, that is harsh words.
Man, that's
harsh words. Now, listen, it's no secret that the Warriors have been struggling this year, and a lot of it has to do with their bench and the rotational pieces on their bench and the young players like Wiseman and Kuminga. But to go this far, I think it's a little harsh, man. What do you think?
I think that's a little harsh. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely think that's a little bit harsh. He does have to deal with a lot of injuries, and he's a big man too. So a big man dealing with some knee trouble, it's gonna, mess up something with his mobility. And and they're really asking not necessarily a lot of him. Like, he's a little bit different than a lot of rookies that came in with a draft cast because he's going into a winning team. So they actually have a distinct role for him to do. And he came in as one of the guys on his roster, on his college team. Excuse me. So coming into the Warriors now, there's an expectation of him, and you need to perform this role right here, and we have to win with you doing that role. So it may be a little difficult for him to play that type of style rather than a player who was drafted at his position will usually go to a bum squad, and then, you know, they're trying to build an offense around him. So I think he's in a difficult spot, but he still does need to play better.
Yeah, he has to play better, but you hit the nail right on the head there. It's not like he went to the Magic, is getting 30 minutes a game, and the offense is revolving around him. He has a very specific role on a team that has been a dynasty.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's going to be very difficult.
Also, where the big man is not needed.
Yes, that too, as well. So it's like he's gone on a team that, like, they don't have to use him. I mean, so to me, it's you got to give him a little more grace, man. He's been injured, he's been hurt. I do think he has the ability. I do think it's there. You know, I worry about, because it's so much of this is mental, right? Like, you know, you get off to a slow start, you start hearing the rumors, you start going on Twitter, and people are saying these things. Now you're in your head. You know, I do think sending him down to the G League, which the Warriors have done, is going to be very good for him. You know, he can go down there and he can dominate, which I do think he will, get his confidence up, you know, get back into shape, maybe get, you know, a little quicker throughout the season, build your stamina, and then come back end of the year and contribute. You know, you're not going to get 25, 30 minutes, but maybe 10, 15 minutes off the bench in a playoff game, you make a contribution, and all of a sudden you're on your way up for the next year. So I think it's a little harsh. I don't think he's, you know, Anthony Bennett's on another level.
What is he doing right now? He's in a YMCA right now.
Yeah. Maybe. We don't even know. But yeah. All right, man. Let's close out the show there, Josh. I want to thank you for coming on, man. It's been a while. It's always great to have you on. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media and all about your podcast.
Of course, brother. So another NBA podcast, just as good as yours. You know, the Dime, we two of the best NBA pods in the game.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
Make sure you check me out on Twitter at justblaze_513, and anywhere you can find podcasts, find Above the Rim on YouTube too as well. So make sure you hit me up with the hot takes and any of that BS you want to highlight me on Twitter. And Josh, man, if people want to argue with us on this episode right here, tell them to come at me, man. I'm ready.
Yes, absolutely, man. Go at him. And listen to the podcast too, the Above the Rim podcast. It is absolutely one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. If you want to follow the Dime, absolutely, man. If you want to follow the Dime, you can on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. Leave comments on social media and on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, I will take those comments. I will display them on the show, and my guests and I will talk about them.
Yeah.
And until then, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back next week with a new episode. Until then, enjoy this slate of games.